across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I will be your host for the next 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get stuck in and call me on 03444 99 1000. There's a hell of a lot to talk about tonight. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, September the 12th. Here's what's coming up. Charlie Kirk's shooter has been caught. Some 22-year-old loser called Tyler Robinson, whose police sheriff father persuaded him to turn himself in. Now, depressingly, stand by for this little creep to become a folk hero to the Be Kind scions of the left who have spent the past 2 days dancing on poor Charlie's grave. Tonight, we point the spotlight at the disgusting left-wingers who seem to believe that a 31-year-old loving husband and father of 2 little children deserved to die because he held right-of-centre opinions. Since the Conservative influencer's assassination in Utah on Wednesday, the British media have been habitually referring to Kirk as a far-right man with extreme views. Even our own 9 o'clock bulletin last night, to my fury, far-righted him, something I did not allow to go unchallenged. More of that later. Blue Sky, the Be Kind capital of social media where lefties go to wallow in their very own groupthink echo chamber, is packed with ghouls posting good riddance messages and even published a list of other right-wingers they'd like to be murdered. What's wrong with these people? 0344499 1000. In other news, extraordinary revelations continue to emerge, spill out about the disastrous downfall of that walking embarrassment, Peter Mandelson. Lots to talk about here, but my favourite new revelation, incredibly, after the toe-curling details of his way too excruciatingly close friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein as emerged, and his position as Britain's ambassador clearly became untenable, this entitled fool refused to resign. He refused to resign, forcing Starmer to sack him. Apparently, Mandy is furious. Did he really think he could ride the latest of his many scandals out? 0344499 1000. Also tonight, Keir Starmer's judgment is now, I would contend, a national crisis. After 13 of his appointments have had to stage embarrassing exits in just 14 months, is our calamitously pathetic Prime Minister actually capable of getting anything right? 0344499 1000. Plus, the genius strategist Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's chief of staff, looks set to be the next for the chop. About time. He's obviously useless. 0344499 1000. Meanwhile, in an hour or so, we'll be joined by migration expert Robert Bates to pore over this government's ongoing catastrophic handling of the migrant crisis. And finally, the Labour Party deputy leadership battle is down to a 2-horse race. Current Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson and recently sacked Leader of the House Lucy Powell. Who will win? Who cares? 0344. Actually, no, we do care. It's an interesting battle. No, there is something about it. Pete Barnes is here. He's laughing his head off at that. The point is, there is something gloriously irrelevant. When you think of everything else, there's these women sort of going, I want to be the deputy leader. Well, yeah, all right then, be the deputy leader. We don't really care. But it is quite intriguing, so we will discuss that battle of the two-horse race.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear. Two-horse race is a phrase, folks. Yeah. It's a phrase. Anyway, all that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. Well, as I just mentioned, that guy laughing in the background is political strategist Pete Barnes. Haven't seen you for 3 weeks. Good to see you again, mate.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Yeah. There's something about the phrase gloriously irrelevant. Yes. I absolutely love that.
But it is gloriously irrelevant. But look, a lot of gloriously irrelevant issues are actually quite intriguing.
That's so true. And after what has been a very dark week, that was a nice laugh, I won't lie.
Yeah, I'd like to go up to Lucy Powell, both of them say, so you fancy being the new Angela Rayner? Well, nobody else does. But seriously, let's get down to business and let's talk about, obviously, the big story of the week, Charlie Kirk. Before we go on, you were a friend of his. You knew him.
Yeah, I knew him. We'd met, I'd say, 7, 8, 9, something like that times, just to, like, in the kind of world in which we operate, you kind of meet the same people again and again. And I tell you now, he was probably one of the most remarkable people I ever met, because he didn't have the usual kind of leg up that you would expect. He came from nothing. He didn't have a college education. He started the group Turning Point.
Because I'm looking at this picture. That was during your pie eating years.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That was 2018. That's when we first met.
Yeah.
And it was at the launch of Turning Point UK over here.
Yeah.
And
how did you? So we were just talking off air. I had Brendan O'Neill on last night, and he met Charlie on several occasions. He said he was a nice guy and all that, and very impressive. He said, but the unusual thing or the unexpected thing about him was he was very shy.
Yeah, which you don't really get when you watch his videos. You think he would be quite a confrontational person.
He'd be the opposite of shy.
But he really wasn't that, because the one thing that Charlie loved was debate.
Yes.
He wasn't really interested in his own opinion. This is the thing I always found quite interesting about him, because he said, I know my opinion. I don't need to hear it again and again and again. He actually absolutely hated echo chambers. Yeah. And I think that's something that we really have to take from all of this is, you've got to listen to other people. And that was the whole point of Charlie going onto these university campuses around America and just talking to people and showing that people didn't want to have a conversation. And I think that's going to be his legacy, I hope. But it's been a rough week.
Oh, it really has been. I mean, it's so shocking. It's so shocking. Now, let's get on, which is why I want to launch this show by discussing the last 2 days. I mean, I keep saying, Pete, I'm not exonerating the right. Right-wingers, people accuse me of being right of centre. I don't know why.
Ghastly.
And yourself.
Oh, yeah.
We are not innocent. Of course we call the opposition, if you like, names. That's the hurly-burly of politics. I love to call... I mean, you wait till I get on to Peter Mandelson in a minute. I love to call people idiots and morons and fools and things like that. But I don't call them the devil.
Yes.
I don't call them the new Adolf Hitler. I don't call them fascists. I don't call them kind of antichrists and so on and so forth. And it's this ludicrous ethos that the left has, and it goes like this. Left equals love. Right equals hate. It's absolutely ridiculous, to the point where I genuinely think a lot of these people need psychiatric help.
Yes.
I might even include the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, John McDonnell, who made a speech on Wednesday, to be fair, before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, at the TUC conference in Brighton, where he likened Reform UK to the new Nazis and essentially compared, he didn't actually name names, but he essentially compared Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler. Now, that is so far over the top that you fear for John McDonnell's mental health.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, the thing is, these people didn't load the rifle, but they didn't help prime the environment to make it happen. That's
well,
what
I tweeted the other night. I said perhaps John McDonnell might want to reflect on Charlie Kirk's assassination and ask himself whether it was wise. Whether it is wise to use this kind of cliched rhetoric. You're right wing, you're a Nazi.
Because that's the thing, it's not exactly the smartest bit of commentary,
that kind of rhetoric, we found out on Wednesday, and we found out before, leads to death. It leads to violence and death. Over here, don't let yourself be persuaded that this is little old England. Oh, it could never happen here. Well, I give you Joe Cox. I give you David Amos. This is what happens when you allow political debate to descend into vicious name-calling, which is more and more what is happening. And that's why poor Charlie Kirk, by the way, all these people say, hey, good riddance, he was a fascist and Nazi, deserved to die. A 31-year-old loving husband and a father of 2 little kids, who I hope to God didn't see what happened to their dad, but they may have done. They were there at Utah Valley University when it happened. So yes, they've caught the perpetrator, the shooter, a little idiot called Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. Apparently his dad's a sheriff. His dad persuaded him to turn himself in. He's a police sheriff. There he is, Tyler Robinson. And as I said in my monologue, trust me, depressingly, this guy will become a folk hero for certain types who we're going to focus on now. Now, just to prove that I'm a fair-minded individual, no, I am. Because last night on this channel, Talk, at 9 p.m, our news bulletin went out. And in that bulletin, there's a different department, if you see what I mean. In that bulletin, it's like a casual, casually. They didn't really think about it. They referred to Charlie Kirk as far right. And even though I was at risk of getting in trouble with my own company, my own channel, I decided not to let it go unchallenged. Here's my response. Welcome back. I'm probably not supposed to do this, but in that news bulletin, Charlie Kirk was referred to as a far-right influencer. He was not far-right. Just because someone is a Republican, right-wing, a believer in traditional values, a Christian, pro-life, does not make them far right. We've got to stop calling everybody who is right of centre far right. It's just ridiculous. And it's a slur on a man who was shot dead yesterday in the most shocking circumstances, purely for sitting there and indulging or involving himself in a political debate. He's not far right. He's not far right. Got that? God, that makes me angry. I'm probably, as I say, I'll probably get in trouble for that, but sometimes you have to say what you think, folks, don't you? Right. And in fairness to this channel, to this station, I didn't get in trouble.
Good.
In fact, certain people quite high up said you were quite right. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not sort of blaming our news. Actually, that bulletin was contracted in. It's done by a different company. Not all our bulletins are usually in-house, but when we get to 9 o'clock, we contract them out. So I'm not really necessarily saying, oh, you idiots, you shouldn't have done that. I think it just sort of gets into the vernacular.
It's the compromise.
People do it. Oh, far right, extremist. Well, listen, Pete, before we discuss this, we have put together a montage of the media, a lot of British media. I mean, for example, Good Morning Britain put out a tweet today. I retweeted it with my own comments. Just casually saying, Rob Rinder and Caroline Flint and Salma Hayek all discuss far-right extremist Charlie Kirk. So I said, stop this. Stop. It's just casually calling people who are right of centre, as I said about Charlie Kirk. He was not extreme, he was not far-right. He believed, he was against abortion, he was a pro-lifer. That's a perfectly legitimate opinion to have. In America, I think it's pretty much the majority. So, you may not agree with him, but that's not far right, that's not extreme. He believed in family values, traditional values. He was a churchgoer, he was a Christian, pro-guns and so on and so forth. A classic American conservative, a Republican through and through. Now, you may not agree with that. That doesn't make him far right. That doesn't make him an extremist. This is what we've got to stop. We've got to stop it. Here's what we've put together to spotlight a syndrome that I think we should endeavour to end. Watch this.
Trump friend and far-right-wing super influencer Charlie Kirk, what haunts America is domestic terror and spiraling political violence.
Latest on the killing of far-right activist Charlie Kirk in the U.S.
It is a really shocking moment, and I was thinking, I've never shared a Trump post in my life. I will contemplate sharing this one, but what I will say with the caveat, he wasn't admired and loved by all. So that's an exaggeration, but the truth is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful action.
Yeah. Can I just say something? I don't agree he was a Cicero for the TikTok age. I believe he was a David Duke for the TikTok age. And I have some degree...
Can you just remind us who David Duke
was? The former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. This was a very seriously deep... Now, this is by no means trying to justify his murder. Political violence is wrong at home. It's as wrong abroad. Charlie Kirk was somebody who was... I shiver, particularly for conservatives, when he's described as conservative, because he wasn't a conservative by any means whatsoever. He was quite clearly, comfortably, a supremacist.
Absolute garbage. Nels Abbey, hang your head in shame. How dare you? He was not a white supremacist. What a ridiculous thing to say. To compare him to David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Give me a break. Listen, before we discuss this, this is Charlie Kirk at the Oxford Union.
From my perspective, Britain is one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. You are the country of Shakespeare, the steam engine, and Adam Smith. You defeated Napoleon, you destroyed the slave trade, you stood up to Hitler. My country, America, became great as it is because of what we inherited from you, from Britain. When I hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," I'm also hearing, quote, "Return America to its British roots." Great Britain has everything in the world to be proud of. But when I look at Britain today, I see a country where the ruling elites are in a race to abandon the very values, the values that made them so great in the first place.
Yeah, why do we have to have Americans who speak up to them? This is what we hear. This is J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, all lamenting our loss of freedom of speech. That little guy, Keir Starmer, when he went to Washington, we've had freedom of speech for 300 years. Freedom of speech for 300 years, Keir, and you're throwing people into jail for tweets. Do me a favour. God, unbelievable. Here's old Nigel Farage. This is his reaction.
What I will say is, if we are serious about understanding what the limits of free speech are, right, and I will say this actually, those people who posted on TikTok, open TikToks calling for me to be killed yesterday, let's see if the police go and arrest them. Yes. Shall we? Because if they don't, we truly are living in two-tier Britain. Yes. All right? So I think it's really, really important. OK, and finally, we have Ellie Gosley from Wales.
OK. Well, Pete, there it all is. I mean, to compare him to the Ku Klux Klan,
that was disgusting.
He was clearly a white supremacist.
That was disgusting.
What are you talking about?
That was disgusting, and it annoys me more that Michael Gove was sat next to him and didn't say a word.
Michael Gove had just compared Charlie Kirk to a modern-day Cicero. Cicero, for those of you who don't know, was a Roman philosopher who was very much a populist. He believed in the power and the wisdom of the people, if you like, a bit of a modern-day Farage or something like that. So Charlie Kirk certainly believed in that.
Yes,
Listen to the will of the people. So Michael Gove said he's a modern-day Cicero, and Nels Abbey there said, no, he wasn't. He's a modern-day David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, outrageous.
What annoys me the most is this whole practice. Like they
poor guy's dead.
They preach civility, but they practice hate. It's just a group of people that hate more than anybody else I've ever met in the political sphere. The left, that type of leftist, believe that they're morally superior, so it can just say whatever they want. And I'm sorry, their words primed this environment for that death. They didn't load the gun, they didn't pull the trigger, but they didn't have to create the environment to influence this guy to do what he did. And I'm sorry, I am done with it.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
done with it.
Wokery is, if you see the reaction to Charlie Kirk's tragic murder. Let me just stress this again. A 31-year-old loving husband, father of 2 kids, 1 and 3 years old. And people are glorying in that. People are reveling in that. Wokery, in this instance, is a death cult. It's a death cult. It is their firm belief that if you're left-wing, you're loving and kind, and if you're right-wing, you're the devil. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. These people genuinely, in my view, need psychiatric help. They really do. You, fabulous audience, let me know what you think about this. I'm furious about it. I'm furious about the way, you know, Good Morning Britain. I've got nothing against Good Morning Britain, but they just casually put out...
It's the casualness.
They casually put out a tweet saying, oh, we discussed far-right Charlie Kirk. Our own news bulletin, far-right extremist Charlie Kirk. You know, he wasn't far-right. He wasn't an extremist. Unbelievable. He just believed in traditional values.
The thing that really gets me is the people who suddenly say that language is violence suddenly don't seem to care about their own language very much, do they?
Yeah, that's right.
They don't follow through on their own belief. It's all hypocrisy, and I can't stand it anymore. I really can't.
Yeah, and today David Lammy has been cited as well. He's a great one for over the top. Yeah. John McDonnell the other day. You know, the Reform UK and Nazis, and Nigel Starmer's the new Adolf Hitler. I mean, it's as juvenile as it is dangerous. You know, stop it. Just stop it. All of you, stop it. The lefties are always the ones who say, oh, language is so important. I think, I mean, I've always said, you know, I'm a bit of an absolutist when it comes to freedom of speech, so I always say what you damn well like. Words can't kill you. Maybe I've got to think again, to be honest with you, because when you look at what happened to Charlie Kirk, maybe words can kill you. I mean, what got that guy, that little creep, Tyler Robinson, to do that? Shot him from a range of 200 yards. Why did he do that? I mean, partly it will emerge. Trust me, I know the American condition. It will emerge that he wanted to do it to be famous. But also on the bullets were trans messages and also anti-fascist messages and all that. It's just sad and pathetic. Mainly, trust me, Tyler Robinson wants to be famous. That's what it is. That will be what it is. These people are just, I don't know, they're just ridiculous. But also, as we know, murderous and deadly. Let's go to break now, and when we come back, we'll lighten the atmosphere. We'll talk about Peter Mandelson. Oh, wonderful. That next.
Keir Starmer was sort of adamant in his very legalistic way that all due process had been followed. We have followed the process to the last jot, dot and comma. Every I was dotted and every T was crossed. He never much seems to care about what the outcomes are, as long as the process was followed. But it's now emerging, isn't it, that quite a lot of warnings were flagged up, unsurprisingly, about Peter Mandelson, and those were overridden by the Prime Minister and perhaps by the behest of Morgan McSweeney.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is...
Welcome back. I mentioned this when I talked to Brendan O'Neill last night. My old mum, God rest her soul, always said the trouble with clever men is most of them are stupid. Yeah. I give you Peter Mandelson. Now, I am not challenging Peter Mandelson's undoubted intellect. Pretty good operator in Westminster, but clearly a total idiot. An absolute fool. I mean, to get caught in scandal, to be sacked for a scandal once, that's bad. Yeah. To be sacked for a scandal twice, that's beginning to look pretty careless. To be sacked for scandal 3 times, which is, he's done a hat-trick now, that is uselessness. That is idiocy on a grand scale. This man is a fool. He is a fool. But what is interesting, he's a clever fool, but he's a fool. And what is interesting, my favourite new line, I mean, there's a couple of new lines. We last night, again, when I was with Brendan, we were reeling back at the shock of this sudden revelation that, in fact, MI6 had told Downing Street, this guy has not passed our vetting tests. We believe him to be a security risk. You must not appoint him to the job of Britain's ambassador to Washington. The Foreign Office too vetted him and sounded the alarm, the warning alarm. And Keir Starmer overrode it. Now, or rather, Downing Street overrode it. Incredibly, that seems to be the question, incredibly, Downing Street. I'm not. This has got to be a lie. They're trying to say this was a departmental issue that didn't go across the Prime Minister's desk. Oh, that's come on!
That is such a lie.
If that's true, that's a disgrace. You mean you're in the vetting process leading to the appointment of Britain's most important diplomat, our man in Washington, our ambassador in America. The Prime Minister takes no interest in that, so I don't believe that for a kick-off. It doesn't really matter in the end. Downing Street overrode MI6 and the Foreign Office vetting process. And that is a disgrace. That is extraordinary.
There should be a resignation issue.
It's extraordinary. It's put Starmer into deep trouble. But my favourite revelation over the past 24 hours, I mean, that is a shocking one. This one is kind of shocking, but it's hilarious. When Starmer went to him and said, "Oh, Peter, you know, I'm afraid that these emails between you and Jeffrey Epstein, you know, where you're offering him legal advice and telling him how upset you were that he's been done for paedophilia." I'm afraid that means that I'm going to have to ask for your resignation. He refused to resign. He refused to resign. I think he genuinely thought he could write this out. Again, idiot. Fool! Of course he couldn't write this out.
The man's job was to spot a bear trap in about 500 yards. But this one was right in front of him, and he just had a blind spot to it. I don't understand it. You know, everyone says that everyone has a blind spot. He's got cataracts. It's absolutely unimaginable to me that he thought he could ride this out.
Yeah.
You cannot have your man in Washington, one of the, like you said, the most important diplomatic position there is, as linked to that man. You just can't. You just can't.
No.
And the fact that MI6 said he's a security risk should have ruled him out immediately.
Of course, yeah, but also, Pete.
Why was he even on the list?
Also, Pete, you know, if I was Prime Minister, it's only a matter of time, folks. And they say, oh, Peter Mandelson. Oh, do you mean the guy that Tony Blair had to fire twice? In financial scandals. I don't think so. You didn't need MI6 to know that this guy was not suited for this job.
The man in the pub down the road could have told you he wasn't fit to be the job.
Exactly right. Anyway, we are talking 48 hours after the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Question Time assured the House of Commons that the full procedure and vetting process has been followed. Yeah, it was. And then you ignored it. And he also said that he has my full confidence. Well, here is old Starmery, old Kiri, over in Washington, waxing lyrical about old Mandy, or Petey, as Jeffrey Epstein, his best pal, used to call him. Take it away, Keir.
There's a real buzz around Washington right now. You can sense that there's a new leader in town, that he's a true one-off, a pioneer in business and in politics. Many people love him. Others love to hate him. But to us, he's just Peter. And Peter is the right person to help us work with President Trump and to take this special relationship from strength to strength.
Thanks, Keir.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, next up we're going to be discussing his judgment, the Prime Minister's judgment, but there you have it in a nutshell. I mean, that's what he said in Washington, and then, as I say, 2 days ago, he told the House of Commons that the full process, vetting process had been followed. He neglected to mention the full vetting process has been followed, but I ignored it. He didn't say the last bit, but he did. He overrode it. Unbelievable. They're trying to say it was number 10 that overrode it, but you know,
he is number 10.
If you believe that the Prime Minister had nothing to do with the vetting process for our man in Washington, Peter Mandelson, had no idea that MI6 had recommended that he didn't get the job, or that the Foreign Office said no, he has not passed the vetting process. If you believe that, I've got some swampland to sell you in Florida. Nobody believes a word of that. Starmer knew every single thing about this, and he made a catastrophically
but also
wrong
on the reverse of that, if he didn't know anything about it, he shouldn't have the job, because he should have known about it, and he should have been in the position to find out about it. So either way, he's not fit for the office. And we've said this for so long now. He is not fit for the office.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that his judgment is becoming a national crisis. And just before we go to break, we've run over a bit. Let me just say this. Next week, Donald Trump comes to Britain for his state visit because of Starmer's catastrophically bad judgment in giving this job, this important American job, to Peter Mandelson, a man for whom scandal has been his kind of lifelong hobby. Because of that bad judgment, this trip next week is going to be one long embarrassment, because they have to do press call after press call after press call. Every press conference is going to be, Mr. Starmer or Sir Keir, why did you appoint Peter Mandelson? Mr. President, what do you think about what's happened at the, oh, Mr. President, you're in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book as well. You deny it, but our ambassador doesn't deny. What do you think, Mr. President, of the fact that until last week, our man in your capital city, our ambassador to Washington, had kept up a very close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after he was convicted of a paedophile offence in 2008. This guy Mandelson is the Prince Andrew of Westminster. He's got the same judgment as Prince Andrew. As I say, I'm not saying he's not a clever man. I'm not saying he has no intellect. I'm not saying he's not a bad political operator, but I am saying he is an arrant fool. He is an idiot. He is an entitled half-wit. He really, really is. And on that bombshell, we better go to break. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's talk about, I mean, we've alluded to it, but rather more than alluded to it, rather. But let's talk about Starmer's appalling judgment.
How long have you got?
Yeah. We've got 6 hours to spare. No, seriously, he's been in power 14 months. During that 14 months, 13 of his important appointments have ended in embarrassing exits. We're talking about Louise Haigh, the disgraced Transport Secretary, who turned out to be a fraudster, a convicted fraudster. Tax-dodging liar Angela Rayner, the disgraced Deputy PM and Housing Secretary. Convicted pedo's pal Peter Mandelson, who we know all about, the disgraced ambassador to America. Don't forget, we had the Housing Minister, who was busy evicting her tenants. We had the Corruption Minister, didn't we? Tulip Siddiq, who got
us... They take the briefs a little too seriously, don't they?
Who decided to get involved in corruption herself, and so on and so forth. That is 14 embarrassing exits in 13 months. That's beyond the pale.
Yeah, but it's because Keir Starmer doesn't believe in anything. And because of that, he's a vessel. And so we're not living in an era of Starmerism, we're living in an era of Morgan McSweeneyism. And that is basically the big problem, is that because Starmer doesn't believe in anything, he's no conviction, so he could be easily swayed and manipulated and pushed into this decision and that decision, because he's no kind of North Star that's guiding him. So he's surrounded by people who are full of controversy, but he doesn't see it because he's just clouded by it. And I find it fascinating that a man like that has made it to the position of Prime Minister not believing in anything. I just don't understand
I agree with that. I mean, he's a straw man. You know, he just blows in the wind. There's nothing to him politically. But, you know, these are appointments that, you know, were expedient to him. He made them when he became Prime Minister. I just don't think he thought it through.
Yeah. Also,
you know, it is clear. You know, all you had to do was go onto Google. You could find out that Louise Haigh had been done for fraud.
Yeah.
You know, Angela Rayner. Well, I suppose to be fair, she didn't get into trouble till after she was appointed.
But the thing is, every single
Mandelson,
one of
for God's sake.
That's the staggering one. But also, it's the lack of talent that's the real problem, really, because this was the best that he could find. Because all of the Labour Party in the benches right now, they're either inexperienced and couldn't do the job, or the ones who have been around long enough are tarred with this amount of scandal that he didn't have a choice but to appoint them. And this has been the big problem of our politics on the left and on the right. There's nobody of talent that is actually good anymore.
Yeah, and by the way, well, apparently he didn't even like Peter Mandelson.
Well,
we'll talk about that in a minute. But where is judgment? I mean, his judgment in these appointments in the first place is catastrophic, disastrous. He doesn't seem to think these things through. But where his judgment really comes in, or his poor judgment comes into sharp focus, is the way that he hangs on to these people.
Yes.
So last week, you know, there he was, oh no, there's nothing wrong with Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner has explained it. No, I have full confidence. You know, by that point, he should have known it was all over.
Yeah.
So what a Prime Minister should be doing, you know, while she's saying, I got legal advice, I got the wrong legal advice. You know, she didn't get any legal advice. She's a liar. He should have thought, hang on. And so he should have been hedging his bets.
Yeah, distancing is what they seem to do.
And his performance in the Commons on Wednesday, the ambassador Peter Mandelson has my full confidence. He should have known by then that was the kind of statement that he should not have been making.
To be honest, the phrase "he has my full confidence" is usually start clearing out your desk. In politics, that is kind of code for that. But again, you are right that he clings on to people.
You avoid it, don't you?
No, well, that's if you want to keep hold of them. But if you have your full support in somebody, normally within a day they're resigning. But I think this was the point: is that Mandelson didn't resign, and I think he expected him to. And I think that's what's really.
Yeah, but I think the phrase. I think the phrase that a prudent Prime Minister would use on Wednesday about Mandelson, given the developing situation, the developing scandal, should have been something like the ambassador to America is performing his duties and is busy, will meet the president next week, and so on. That kind of thing.
Yeah, you can put it like that.
He has my full confidence.
Yeah, because that now makes it look like he's flip-flopped. But I do think that you're right. He does cling on to people.
He doesn't know when it's all over.
Yes,
he doesn't know when it's all over.
He doesn't know when to get off the stage, and I think this is a big problem. But I will say that I think Boris Johnson also had this problem.
Oh yeah, Boris Johnson hated sacking.
Yeah, and that's also a problem that, you know, he doesn't want to be the bad guy, and I'm like, that's kind of your job.
I think it's more than that, Pete. I agree with you to an extent. I think that both with Angela Rayner and Peter Mandelson, Starmer was hoping against hope that somehow or other Angela and Peter could tough it out, because if they went, it would be a disaster for Starmer. But that said, as I say, a prudent Prime Minister would know when it's all over. His bad judgment in appointing them in the first place is one thing, but secondly, his bad judgment is that he didn't see that there was no point in trying to ride this out. It wasn't going to happen. The guy, he's a very, very bad politician.
He's a remarkably bad politician. It staggers me that he's got this far, but then again, I go back to the point, he said there's no talent.
It's Labour.
It's Labour. But again, it is fascinating, really. The circus that Number 10 is at the moment makes Boris Johnson years look like they were the most pristine thing you've ever seen. It really does, because I've been involved at Number 10. It was amazing, but
over the calmness of the Johnson days.
I can't believe that I'm harking back to Partygate as though it was like the calm days.
For the calmness and harmony of the Johnson era.
Really, it made COVID look sensible.
I mean, jokes aside, let me know what you think, folks. Pete and I agree. I mean, I'm not overstating this, and I know Westminster is abuzz with this, quite rightly, that Starmer's judgment, it's just disastrous, and it has now become, I think, a national crisis. As I said in my monologue, it is not an exaggeration to say that people all over the country are saying, is this guy capable of getting actually anything right? He doesn't get anything right. He gets everything wrong. We are being led by, you know, the fall in Downing Street, and he's surrounded, as you say, by these below mediocre politicians. It's very, very worrying. What do you think, folks? I mean, do you feel that this guy's judgment, his capabilities, are becoming a serious crisis for this country? Because, you know, somebody like me, you probably, oh, it's just him droning on again, having a go at Labour. But I'm really not saying that. This isn't about politics. What I don't expect to approve of anything Labour does. But what I do expect, it's like the Blair years. You know, I hated everything Tony Blair ever did. Well, not everything, but most things. But you know, I was content with his competence, very competent administration. And what we've got here is clearly a palpably incompetent administration and an incompetent Prime Minister. Never mind the politics, they are incompetent. Do you agree with me and Pete that the Prime Minister's judgment and his competence and the competence of this government is turning into a national crisis for this country? Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. And we're going to return to this after the break, because the next super brilliant genius in the firing line is that colossus of political strategy, Morgan McSweeney, who is the Chief of Staff for Keir Starmer at number 10 Downing Street, brought in after he successfully defenestrated his predecessor, Sue Gray. She was useless. Turns out Morgan, who everybody goes, oh, it's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. He's a ginger Irishman, by the way. It turns out Morgan is even worse. No mean feat. We'll talk about that after this break.
Keir Starmer was sort of adamant in his very legalistic way that all due process had been followed. We have followed the process to the last jot, dot and comma. Every I was dotted and every T was crossed. He never much seems to care about what the outcomes are, as long as the process was followed. But it's now emerging, isn't it, that quite a lot of warnings were flagged up, unsurprisingly, about Peter Mandelson, and those were overridden by the Prime Minister and perhaps by at the behest of Morgan McSweeney.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We've been talking about the carnage in Westminster, the carnage in Downing Street, the absolute circus of chaos that is swirling around in our government. It is just extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. And I think the people around the country, Pete, are well aware of this. Now, we're hearing that the next person in the firing line, the next big name to be chucked under the bus, will be Morgan McSweeney. Morgan McSweeney is this ginger Irishman that everybody in Westminster says is a brilliant strategist, genius, you know. He's the one that kind of outmaneuvered the useless Sue Gray. Sue Gray was Keir Starmer's original chief of staff, a kind of career civil servant, had no idea what she was doing. Sweeney swiftly saw her off. He's now the boss. Now he, Pete, is the guy who apparently, against Starmer's wishes, said Peter Mandelson has to be the ambassador. He apparently, look, there he is with his little satchel and his little rubber-soled shoes. Suit doesn't fit. Typical Politico.
Yeah. Right. Is that right?
Yeah. Is that Milan? Is that the Paris catwalk? Oh no, it's Morgan McSweeney. Yeah. Anyway, he's the one behind the appointment of Mandelson. So right now, Starmer is steaming at him. Now he's made a complete mess of it, and the Westminster rumour mill is abuzz with the fact that he's going to be the next to go. Brilliant, talented, and all the other superlatives he demonstrably isn't. That's what they've said of him. Do you reckon he will go? My feeling is Starmer may feel if I get rid of him, it is really going to look kind of...
Because he's already had 2 directors of communication walk out. I mean, that's just careless. Losing 1 is terrible. Losing 2 is careless. But the thing is that you have to remember is that McSweeney is actually Blair's guy. He's a Blairite. He was Blair's...
Hence the Mandelson.
Yes, hence the Mandelson connection. This is a big thing we still have to remember, is that Tony Blair still has quite a lot of influence in the Starmer administration and in the Labour Party itself. And if you remember, at one point, Starmer and Blair were basically best pals. And then there was a real divergence. And then I think the Mandelson appointment was a way for kind of the Blairites to pull him back. And there's still this internal conflict all around the Blairites versus the rest of the Labour Party. And that conflict is starting to play out in a very dramatic way. And it is interesting to see it kind of implode. It's like a car crash. We can't not watch it. But whether he'll go, I don't know, because the problem of McSweeney is he's a great campaigner. He's not a governor. And this was the same with Dominic Cummings. They're great at getting the message out.
Mandelson's a great campaigner.
Yes, Mandelson's a great campaigner. But actually doing the job is a completely different skill. Yeah. Campaigning is one thing, but doing the job, governing, is a very different skill. They say you campaign in poetry, but you govern in prose. And that is a difficult shift that not everybody can do, and I don't think McSweeney is able to do it. I will say, though, things seem a little bit calmer when Sue Gray was there. We say that she was incompetent, but I actually think she was very good at holding it all together. Yeah. She was very good at least plugging the gaps. He just seems to not care about the gaps anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. I reckon Sue Gray, I don't think she was very good, but I think that she's a civil servant, and what she wanted was order and efficiency.
Yes.
McSweeney is a politico.
Yeah. You need both.
So he's not so interested in efficiency, he's interested in achieving political goals. Let's get my man and Tony's man into Washington. And it's incredible. There's no doubt that Blair wanted Mandelson. It's incredible, isn't it, that Blair wanted Mandelson in that job. It's like, Tony, didn't you notice there's a kind of a problem with Mandy? You know, you fired him twice. Once when he borrowed £375,000 from Geoffrey Robinson, the richest man in Labour, without telling anyone and without paying any interest on that loan. Do you remember he bought the house in Notting Hill?
Yeah.
That was way back then. You could buy a house in Notting Hill for £375,000. And I keep saying this, but I loved the name of that scandal, Notting Hill Gate.
And
then the Hinduja brothers, the Indian tycoons, he got them passports dodgily, had to resign for that. So 1, 2, and now Washington 3. It's a hat trick. I mean, you know, Tony Blair, get him in. It's all of them. I think there's a sort of entitlement about it.
Without a doubt.
They're like the princes and the kings and the dukes of medieval times, dividing up the spoils of the nation between them, feeling they're untouchable.
Oh, without a
Tony
doubt.
Blair feels he's untouchable, despite what he knows about Mandelson. He says, let's get my man into Washington. And, well, Tony, you've got some questions to answer now as well, haven't you?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you're so right. It's this sense of entitlement, but also it's the lack of self-awareness yet again, that they don't see how other people would see it, and they don't acknowledge that, and because of it, they just plough ahead, and it's just scandal after scandal. So we are right that we're lurching from crises, but it's all self-induced. It is every single crisis we're facing is because of the decisions that they've made. It's not that something has happened. It is they've made the thing happen, and they've just escalated it to 1,000. You know, we talk about...
I totally agree. But in the middle of this swirling mass of chaos is this frightened little thing, our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who clearly is not up to this job.
No.
He is no good at being Prime Minister. He isn't up to it.
I hate to break it. I think he was brought up to the top table far too soon. Like he's not an operator like Blair or Mandelson. He's not that kind of person. He doesn't have that ruthlessness that these two have. And I think that's starting to show that he's not their guy, if you know what I mean. He's not part of that clique. He's not capable of
That's why McSweeney and the gang and Blair wanted to get Mandelson into this important position, because it increased Blair's sphere of influence in the new administration.
That's what it is. It's all about influence. If you look at Global
New Labour.
Yes, it's the Global Council, which is the consultancy firm that's linked to Mandelson. They've started to divest from him as well, so they've started to pull back.
No, they've severed ties. Well, he's going to walk away with £8 million.
I could say, he'll still do all right.
Please pass me the world's smallest violin.
But you know.
Here's if you want to dance on Peter Mandelson's political grave or his career grave, this is what will be killing him. This is a guy, this is the point about Mandelson throughout his life. Rich men were his weakness. If you give him a flash house to live in, or you can stay in my New York apartment. You give him a free holiday, you come down to my island in the Caribbean, you come on my private jet. You give him all of that, he's in your pocket.
Well, look at the cabinet now when it came to Lord Ali. They were right in his pockets. They saw somebody was rich,
but
Mandelson
took that syndrome and sent it into outer space.
But the thing that will kill him the most is he'll have lost the title His Excellency. It's the loss of the titles.
But also the sheer opulence of the Washington ambassadors.
Living in a palace, basically.
Huge swimming pool. He will be dying a death. It's probably why he refused to resign.
Probably.
But the idea that he thought he could survive this and refused to resign. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Listen, good talking, Pete. That's great. We are going to go to break in just a second. 8 o'clock news. And then when we come back, we're going to be joined by migration expert Robert Bates, the director of the Centre for Migration Control. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and he's not. He's Pete Barnes. Now, by the way, Pete just told me, I didn't realise this Tyler Robinson creep, the guy who allegedly, I think we have to say that, shot Charlie Kirk from a range of 200 yards straight into the neck. It hit his carotid artery. Apparently, if you get hit in the carotid artery, you've got less than a minute. Unless you stem that bleeding with proper gauze, you're gone. Interestingly, Charlie Kirk always wore a bulletproof vest, but of course that doesn't cover the neck. Anyway, Pete was just telling me that I didn't know this. Tyler Robinson was a registered member of the Republican Party. Yeah. He seems to be a bit sort of all over the place politically, doesn't he?
Yeah, but this is
not a consistent thinker.
Yeah, I'm going to say. I mean, what keep that away?
But anyway, listen, by the way, I should tell you in an hour's time, at this precise moment in 60 minutes, my TV show, What Just Happened. What Just Happened? It makes its triumphant return. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so What Just Happened hasn't been on for 3 weeks. I know, state of national mourning, you've all been crying. Well, it's... Get rid of your Kleenex boxes. Stop crying. Stop weeping. It's back tonight, 9 o'clock. I'll try and play you a clip a little bit later, but I highly recommend it. You'd expect that I would, wouldn't you? It's critically unacclaimed. It's hilarious. No, it's actually a good addition tonight. We'll be talking about... we're very keen on the Epstein files and the Epstein story and Peter Mandelson, so lots of that. There's also a couple of stories involving me. You'll enjoy the video of me. So I'll tell you the story, right? I said this on What Just Happened. So I go to Cornwall. I have to go on a staycation, right? Because we've got this little dog who's 14 years old, and we can't leave him with it. He's a bit of a, he's very old, so we have to stay with him all the time. It's killing our social life. Our once vibrant social life now revolves around about 3 pubs that take dogs locally. Anyway, we took him down to Cornwall, and I realised I hadn't packed any swimming trunks. So I drove about 50 miles to find a place to buy some swimming trunks. Drove all the way back to this kind of cabin thing that we'd rented in the cliffs, a lovely place called Whitsand Bay, and couldn't get in because I couldn't find the keys. I thought, oh my God! So I changed. I tried them on at this surfing shop in a place called what's it called, Saltash or something. Anyway, of course, I phoned the shop. When I tried them on, they'd fallen out of my jeans. So I had to drive 50 miles back. Well, it's something like 50, 35 miles, something like that. Pick up the key, drive all the way back. So it's the whole process, 30 quid they cost me, but the whole process took about like 5 hours. So I really suffered for these swimming trunks. So I said, right, and then, the sea, the ocean down in Cornwall, was not that tempting. So 2 weeks we're down there. And I just hadn't gone in. And on the very last day, I said, I've got, so much effort getting these swimming trunks. I'm going in swimming, come what may. So I go to this beach, and I went in, and my wife filmed it. And the footage is on my show, What Just Happened Tonight.
I could just imagine.
I put it on Twitter. It was like going for a swim in a slightly melted glacier.
Right.
It was freezing. Absolutely freezing.
I can only imagine.
Oh my God!
The expletives and then about a beeping.
So you can see my swimming experience in Cornwall on What Just Happened Tonight. Yeah. Also, here's another thing. You see these things, right? Right. Yeah. Let me see this thing, right? There's a rubber thing round there, right? So this is Wednesday night, big night for us. This is when poor Charlie Kirk got assassinated. This one here fell into my ear. So literally fell off and fell into my eardrum. and it stayed there for 2 days. I got it out about 2 hours ago. So we've also got video of my brilliant producer Samara Gill, who's also on What Just Happened, trying to get this thing out in breaks with tweezers. So lots of exciting footage for you to enjoy concerning me or my disastrous life, my so-called life. So we'll try and play you a clip a bit later, but you might enjoy those two bits of video. Right, enough of my tedious long anecdotes. Let's go over to my next guest. We're delighted to be joined by the Director for the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Hello, Robert.
Evening, chaps. Sorry to hear about your travails.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I talked about some more of my travails, we'd be here all night.
I know, yeah.
My life is one long disaster story, I'll tell you. But anyway, listen, good to have you on board, Robert. Let's talk about your speciality, the migration crisis, the migrant crisis, because we've been talking for the past hour of what now seems to be almost peak crisis surrounding this government in everything they do. All these departures, Angela Rayner, Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister's abysmal judgment. This country basically reduced to stasis by scandal and incompetence. But of course, all the time in the background, you've always got the migrant crisis. And quietly, this week, because we've been so focused on Mandelson, and Starmer's utter incompetence. Almost unnoticed, Robert, it's been quite a big week for the migrant crisis, hasn't it? Last Saturday, 1,097, nearly 1,100 came across. I think it was 2 days ago, was it Wednesday, Thursday? 674. We had a day off yesterday, but they've been coming across, haven't they? So, always in the background is this drumbeat of the migrant crisis, and still they come, and still they come. Now, we've got a new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who was touted to us as this woman is a no-nonsense, she'll get tough, she'll tough talking, she'll get tough. Well, the thing is, and she came in and she said, I'll stop at nothing to solve this crisis. Well, she'll stop at almost everything. She won't leave the ECHR. So if you won't leave the ECHR, she won't take away their benefits. She won't stop putting them into 4-star hotels. She won't stop giving them free food. She won't stop giving them free doctors, free dentists. She won't stop giving them, most importantly, free lawyers to fight their case to stay, these asylum seekers. So because of all these things that she won't stop at, I'll stop at nothing. No, Shabana, you've already proved that you'll stop at almost everything. Because she won't stop any of these ludicrous, this ludicrous generosity that we show asylum seekers, she's doomed, like her predecessor, Yvette Cooper, to just tinker around the edges. So we've got this ever since August the 4th, I think it was, the one-in, one-out scheme with France, with Macron, has been in operation. So far, the score is more than 5,500 in, none out since then. 5,500 in, none out. Shabana Mahmood's first statement was, it's almost pathetic, it's almost comically pathetic, was, I can promise you that there'll be the first deportation on this scheme imminently. It's imminent. Well, we haven't seen it yet. I suspect we never will. And then she said, I can also announce that we're going to extend that scheme to Germany. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And the other tough-talking measure, which this is going to solve it, is she says these countries like Nigeria and Syria and so on, if they don't take their migrants back from us, the ones who come to our country, I might curb the number of visas that we grant those countries. Wow! Wow, that should do it. Do you see what I mean? Just like Yvette Cooper, just like Keir Starmer, because they are They show no resolve. They won't leave the ECHR. All these other things. They are doomed to just tinker around the edges and definitely not solve this crisis. Am I right?
I think, sadly for the country, you are correct, yes. I mean, they were very keen when Cooper left the Home Office to clearly present Mahmood's appointment as if they were bringing in someone that was no nonsense and really going to grip this issue. Let's be perfectly clear, Mahmood is not a hardliner in any way, shape or form when it comes to immigration. Of course, she was campaigning against the deportation of foreign criminals only a few short years ago. But I think the bigger point here is you could put Genghis Khan in the Home Office with this Labour Party and they still wouldn't be able to...
It's only a matter of time, Robert.
But the point is that they are so beholden to this baying mass of deranged backbenchers that are obsessed with ideas of human rights, obsessed sort of, oh, well, I've heard from my constituents that X, Y and Z measure might unduly affect their ability to bring over family members, that whoever is in the Home Office is completely captured by left-wing ideologues on the backbenches. And, you know, some of the measures that are being touted now, this idea of a deal with Germany, is actually an incredibly concerning deal. We don't want to get dragged into this idea of mass cooperation with European countries when it comes to transfers of illegal migrants. We tried that whilst we were a member of the European Union under the Dublin regulation. And what actually ended up happening was we ended up taking more from Europe than we were actually able to return in the first place. So I think, unfortunately, we're only a couple of weeks in, a week or so into her tenure in the Home Office, and we're already resorting to these gimmicks that we got so used to over the last 12 months with Cooper. Oh, we're putting up some social media ads. Oh, we've signed a deal with X, Y and Z country. Oh, I've gone for a state visit to over here or whatever. None of it will work until you put in place a strong deterrent. And I think most of us on the right, most common sense thinking people now are screaming and sick of screaming that the only way you do solve this is to put in place a strong deportation strategy and to have a strong deterrent around which you centre your asylum and illegal migration policy.
Yeah, and we have to be, you know, a lot of people say, oh, we've got to leave the ECHR, as if as soon as we leave the European Convention on Human Rights, that will solve the crisis. That, you know, don't kid yourself that will solve the crisis. But it is, in my view, the utterly essential starting point to solving the crisis. We have to be able to make our own sovereign decisions without being overruled by a foreign court. So we start by leaving the ECHR and then we start making our own decisions. For example, Germany, I think this is a great idea. And I've always said this. If nothing else, you know, okay, you haven't got the guts to turn the boats around. You haven't got the guts to do detain and deport. You haven't got the guts to say to these people, you broke into our country illegally, come what may, you cannot stay. You haven't got the guts to do any of this. But here's an idea. They come in, okay, let them in. You're now asylum seekers. Oh, you want to fight your asylum case. Who's your lawyer? How are you going to pay for it? Because we are not paying for your lawyers. Germany are going to stop that. So that would be one thing to do, but they won't do it for the human rights reasons you've just been laying out, Robert.
Well, exactly. And you can take away the matchbox from the arsonist, but it doesn't mean that they're not an arsonist. And unfortunately, in Britain, the ECHR is used by our activist judiciary. It's used by civil servants as that crux and that claim towards due process, which does facilitate those things such as we see with free legal advice. And I mean, that is actually baked into government contracts when it comes to the provision of kind of accommodating asylum seekers. There's, you know, left-wing charities get given very lucrative deals by the Home Office to actually do that kind of legal support throughout the case of an individual. And, you know, when we do actually see individuals appealing rejections in asylum cases, when it comes to those tribunals, you know, there's a 75%, 60% sort of upholding of the asylum seeker's case. So this is an incredibly pernicious problem that does almost seem unique to Britain, unfortunately. You know, you mentioned other countries in Europe. Other countries are able to sort of, seemingly to us, bypass some of the strictures of the ECHR. And I think that it really is, unfortunately, the situation in Britain where we have this tendency to gold plate rules and to take rules and to just overly imagine them. And I think that is the result of sort of 20 years of a legal system and a judiciary that has really forfeited its sort of ability to understand law as a doctrine and to actually just interpret it into a philosophy and an avenue for sort of political campaigning. So we have a very particular problem in this country, and I think any government that's serious about tackling this has to come in with an absolute scythe. It has to do away with things such as immigration tribunal. It has to scrap all funding for left-wing charities that provide that legal advice sort of covertly, and it has to also do away with, of course, the state support as well, the legal aid as well.
And we have to do a lot about particularly our immigration tribunal judges. You know, leaving the ECHR is one thing. I mean, arguably, a lot of people say, you know, if we had sensible immigration tribunal judges, you know, we probably could stay in the ECHR and solve our migrant crisis, because you don't. It's about interpretation. So these left-wing judges interpret the ECHR according to their worldview, and that is that you know, Britain is bad and foreigners are great. Therefore, if you're a paedophile who's just done 5 years in jail, these idiots will not deport you back to your country because you've got a right to a family life. Or you may be, I mean, this is always my favourite, a paedophile is allowed to stay because he claims or says, if you send me back to Syria or Somalia, they take a very dim view of paedophiles over there, so I'll be persecuted. As if, oh yeah, well that's fair enough, because we really like paedophiles in Britain, so you better stay here. I mean, you know, so in other words, their interpretation is you could stay here and be a danger to British children. It is extraordinary. So they have to do a lot about our judges, but Shabana Mahmood, this Labour government, this human rights obsessed government, unlikely, isn't it, Robert?
It massively is. I think my favourite was actually the individual who was committing crimes, and he claimed it was because he was an alcoholic and couldn't be deported back to Pakistan because they wouldn't have had the necessary amount of alcohol to meet his needs as well. So, you know, it's an absolutely ridiculous situation.
I didn't know that one.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, that was my favourite now. That's number one for me. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think anything is going to improve for the next 3 or 4 years before the general election. I think, you know, the Labour Party have probably been dragged as far right as they can be, given where their sort of ideological centre is when it comes to backbenchers. I mean, it still isn't anywhere near sort of sensible enough in terms of the policies. But I really think now Keir Starmer's maxed out the amount he's prepared to sort of the amount of ankle he's prepared to flash to us that want to see proper common sense immigration policies introduced. I think it's a situation that is only going to deteriorate. I think over the next 4 or 5 years, you know, we could very well see, you know, hundreds of thousands of people coming across the channel. Those images are going to continue to haunt this government for the foreseeable future. And, you know, of course, then we've also got the fact that we now have a large backlog of asylum seekers and people that have actually been given asylum status on very shaky grounds, who are also going to continue to add to the economic burden through the welfare bill. We see huge numbers of refugees now claiming welfare. A very, very small proportion of them are actually economically active once they even get given the status to remain in the country as well. So this is a situation now that is, the public is so aware of it that I don't really think the Labour Party can squirm out of it until they're prepared to adopt a strong measure, which of course they won't, and therefore that will be their downfall.
Yeah, pretty horrifying statistic emerged, I think it was yesterday, that since 2018, something like 181,000 migrants have come across the channel illegally, and that adds up to more than Britain has servicemen and servicewomen. So if you take the total number of servicemen and servicewomen in the Air Force, the Navy and the Army, that is not as big a number as the number of migrants who've come into this country illegally and been allowed to stay, of course, since 2018. I mean, these kind of statistics are all over the place. It's just shocking. It's shocking what is going on, and we have a government with no resolve that is proving daily that is simply incapable of tackling this escalating mega problem for this country. So I luckily, Robert, I don't have much of a reputation, so I had no compunction about putting my reputation on the line when the one-in, one-out scheme came into play on August the 4th. I said, I bet you, this is supposed to be a deterrent. I said, I bet you they don't get a single migrant back from Britain into France from Britain. I bet you they don't get a single one. And here we are. What is it? What is that? Is that where are we at? Getting on for 2 months on. The score is 5,500 in, none out. So far, my reputation, such as it is intact. You see what I mean?
It's in very high esteem. And to be honest, when you look at what's going on social media as well, and you actually see that left-wing activist groups such as the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants are sort of mobilising and prepared to fight any attempt to actually deport people back to France. Anyway, even if that does actually end up sort of manifesting itself administratively, you realise that the Labour Party just simply doesn't have the bandwidth or the capacity to actually implement the measures that are needed. My favourite statistic, though, where I was just looking over, you raised the 180,000, is since 2021, about 210,000 people have come from France to the UK for long-term settlement. Only 40,000 of them are actually Frenchmen. The rest of them are small boats, migrants coming across looking to be given effectively a life of luxury. And this is just a situation where, you know, we can have as much border control as we want when it comes to legal migration, and we can implement rules on legal migration. But if we don't actually grip the small boats crisis, then we are still going to see the huge pressures on public services and the huge pressure on NHS and social cohesion as a result of this crisis.
I'll tell you what we'll do now, Robert. I was going to bring up, we'll talk about this after the break. I want to talk a little bit about the battle for the Deputy Labour leadership, which I keep declaring is now down to a 2-horse race. If you know what I mean. It's a phrase, come on. I want to talk about that, but also let's have a chat about the Boris wave. Did you see that story the other day? We'll talk about it after this break, because this is an impending Uber crisis. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Stay tuned.
That is one of the things that will cause the polls to tighten in a few years as we get closer to a general election, is people, if the NHS is driven up the agenda, that'll help Labour out. But if they can't even back this up with any type of meaningful improvements in the NHS and in the waiting list data, they're getting in real trouble. There's a little bit of a caveat here that these do go up and down, winter's coming, waiting lists generally go up then. But again, as you said, he promised real significant progress on this, and whether or not it's a little blip, there still is nothing meaningful happened.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with, I'm with Pete Barnes, of course, political strategist. Perhaps we can all discuss this. Also, of course, with Robert Bates, the director for the Centre for Migration Control. Before we get on to the two-horse race,
every time it's still funny.
I love it. It makes me laugh every time. For the leadership of the deputy.
It's like living
the
in
deputy leadership. This show is so corny. Anyway, before we get on to the deputy leadership race, let's talk about the Boris wave. I don't know if you saw this story. Column in the Times revealed this shocking development. Well, not really a development, it's been there. That during Boris's reign, the year before he became Prime Minister, the net migration into this country, we talk about legal migration, was 188,000. The first 2 years of his administration, that went up to 3.8 million. 83% of those people were not workers. They were students, dependents, family members, people coming for health reasons, and so on and so forth. So a real drain on the economy. And the thing is, all these people who come in, we give them legal visas, they'll be for like 3 years or whatever, they have this tendency to just stick around. They outstay their visas. After 5 years, we have a system, a ludicrous system, called leave to indefinitely lead to indefinitely remain, and indefinite leave to remain. There you go, we got there in the end. Indefinite leave to remain. So if you manage to stay here 5 years, extend your visa, we basically say, oh, fair enough, you can stay for the rest of your life. At that point, you get full citizen benefits. I mean, you're not a citizen, but you get, you know, welfare, healthcare, so on and so forth, just as if you were a British citizen. So you become a fully fledged drain on the economy. 3.8 million, 83% of them not working. This means that over the next year, because we're coming up to 5 years, that something like 480,000, I think it is, people will get indefinite leave to remain. And then going forward, we're going to have to deal with 3.8 million. Now, what is being said is that unless Shabana Mahmood stops indefinite leave to remain, this is a massive, massive catastrophe waiting to happen.
Yeah, okay, so I'll pick up. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this is what happens when Downing Street plays little circus games. This is the big problem, is that when everybody is all fussing about all the different like ends and dramas as navel gazing, these things spiral out of control. But what, for me, the central problem of the Boris wave was actually the dependence number. They massively expanded that, and they didn't tackle it convenient, like in anywhere near shape or form, to a degree that really could be considered, you know, sensible. Like, you're right, it just spirals. And because we spend so much time fussing over Westminster nonsense, it's this stuff that gets left on the heap, and it just becomes the problem that everybody else has to pick up. And unfortunately, they're right to call it the Boris wave, but it is a long-standing problem.
But Boris was a serious villain.
Oh, he is.
So, Robert, your sound went there, but did you catch what I was saying about the Boris wave? Could you hear me?
Oh, 100%.
So what your thoughts on this coming catastrophe? 3.8 million people are about to become sort of fully fledged drains on the economy. And by the way, many of them will then be able to bring over their family members. So it's fair to say that, incredibly, the Labour government has managed to make our migrant crisis worse. But you must know, I mean, Pete will be squirming about this, but he will have to admit that the Tories have got such a lot to answer for, especially Boris. From 188,000 net migration to 3.8 million, and now most of those are about to get indefinite leave to remain. So the only way out of this coming catastrophe is for Shabana Mahmood to stop indefinite leave to remain. She better do that.
It is the only way. I mean, obviously, Boris Johnson got completely gobbled up by the blob and trade unions and bodies urging him to open up the health and social care route in particular, which led to the dependence problem. But, you know, we already have 1.3 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit. These are people that are not even British citizens, and yet somehow the British taxpayer is having to support their lifestyle. But what we really do have, as you rightly point out, the huge numbers that we saw over the last 5 years will start being given this hugely privileged position, which I really can't understand what the point of it is anymore. It was introduced in the 1980s when net migration was running in the negatives. It isn't completely unfit for a period where we've seen in some years net migration running at nearly 1 million. It is a completely unsustainable state of affairs. And of course, it's not just the fact that they get benefits, they can bring family members over, their children will become British citizens, but it's also the fact that they then don't have to stay in the job for which they were brought over in the first place. So of course, we were told that without migration, the healthcare sector would have collapsed. But these individuals now don't have to stay once they get given indefinite leave to remain, working in the role that they nominally came over to do in the first place. It serves no purpose to benefit the British public. It's purely done under the auspices of assimilation of those here that have arrived on these visas.
But remember, Robert, that of these 3.8 million, only 17% were workers, people who came here to work. And by the way, they were low-skilled workers. Something like 5% were these high-skilled, high-income people, the kind of migrants that we actually want. The rest of them we don't really want. And unless Shabana Mahmood strikes out indefinite leave to remain, as I keep saying, there is a tidal wave of disaster that will engulf this country. This is an unseen crisis, isn't it?
It is, and it has really gone unnoticed. I think you really good point you make on the sheer tiny fraction of those that actually came to work, and of course an even smaller number of those were actually in those jobs that most people, when they think of immigration, they think, oh well, it's doctors and nurses, it's people coming to do worthwhile jobs. Well, last year less than 1% of people arriving on a visa were actually doctors. Most of them were actually students who will do very low quality courses, Marxism, circus arts, bakery, just a few that people are actually coming to study. They will then find their ways to access this long-term settled status through a graduate visa route. They'll be able to sort of eventually wiggle the system to get that access as well. So this is a huge problem, and it really doesn't incentivize people to actually come to the UK and work and contribute if they are just given sort of a platter of benefit, if they can just hold on for those 5 years. It's ridiculous. I really do think this is where the conversation is going. You've got Conservatives now talking about net negative migration, which I think, frankly, is the only way that we can go at this point, where we sort of withhold this settled status from people that have arrived on visas, and they will have to, at the end of their visa, return home. I think that is the only logical solution to rectify the chaos of the last 5 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I completely echo your points, Robert, but I think you're so right in what you said earlier, is the fact that the Labour Party has moved as far right on this issue as they are going to be able to do, because let's not forget, Downing Street is not in control. It is the backbenchers.
Totally right.
That is the problem.
Totally
they
right.
can't do what is necessary because they're not in control. They're not leading on this.
The welfare bill proved that.
The moment that lost, everything changed.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't, that is
so
the moment
right.
that Starmer was no longer the Prime Minister, and that every issue is going to spiral out of control now because they are guided by the backbenchers, that are guided by this concept of universal human rights and all the rest of it. They won't break down the legal frameworks, because let's look at Section 5 of the Illegal Migration Act.
Can't we do Section 4 first?
No, Section 5 is the one that would make arrivals illegal.
Yeah.
That is in law. It has had royal assent. It has yet to be activated.
Really?
And that is the point. We have the legal framework that we need. It's this government is not strong enough. It does not have the backbone or the willingness to activate it to actually make the asylum claims illegal.
Absolutely.
And this is the really important part. It is the lack of political will now that will lead to a crisis getting worse.
Yeah, you're both so right. Robert made that point earlier. You're so right that Keir Starmer's not running the country. Those backbenchers who nixed the welfare bill are now. Right, we almost forgot the two-tier race, so we've really run over, Robert. So I'm going to ask you, let's do this very, very quickly. This is like asking you, which disease would you prefer to die from? Would you prefer current Education Secretary. You have to say this about all Cabinet Ministers at the moment. Current Education Secretary, devoted Marxist, keen class warrior Bridget Phillipson, or would you prefer recently sacked Leader of the House, dog whistle fan Lucy Powell, or could you not give a damn?
Well, have we still got that lettuce from the Liz Truss era?
I think that's still going strong compared to
I think it just reflects how low quality the Labour Party has come. Both of these people are completely out of tune with where the public are. Both are parroting immigration positions and social positions that put them at complete odds with the British public. I really think whoever Keir Starmer ends up being lumbered with is going to be an absolute millstone around his neck, because they just aren't offering what people want to hear from politicians.
Exactly, that's a good answer, Pete.
Is a visa in a different country available?
You should just go, Lucy Powell for me.
No, honestly, it's a sensible answer. I would actually say Lucy Powell, because she's incompetent. Bridget Phillipson is an ideologue, which makes her dangerous. Yeah. If you're looking for a sensible answer, because
I'll tell you why I fancy Lucy Powell, because Lucy Powell now hates Keir Starmer.
Yes, that's very true.
Keir Starmer just fired her. Yeah. So there may be trouble ahead. I mean, it's a glorious irrelevance, as I said, but it's kind of funny. And it's interesting now that it is a, ready, drum roll, it's a two-horse race. Robert, it's fantastic to have you on the show, always. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend. Robert Bates, the Director for the Centre for Migration Control. We're going to take your calls after the break, so maybe you can tell us, out of the two-horse out of the two-horse race, would you prefer Lucy Powell or Bridget Phillipson, or couldn't you care less? Let me know. 03444991000. But more seriously, the other issues we're talking about, the left-wingers who seem to be so full of hate, the Peter Mandelson affair, and of course the various migrant crises that we've been talking about for the past half an hour. Let me know. 03444991000. See you in a bit.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We kind of overran there, but that's what happens when I'm with friends like Pete Barnes and Robert Bates. So friends talking, and good to have you involved as well, folks. But in 20 minutes, so don't get too excited. Try to calm yourself down. It's my TV show, The Return. It's been away for 3 weeks. It is What Just Happened. Now, I should be playing you a clip from tonight's show, but I'm not going to because I can't find one. Here's, a sort of flavour, a taste of what you could expect in 20 minutes from What Just Happened. Take it away. What just happened? Let's talk about the Meg spin. Depressingly, so many newspapers fell for it, hook, line and sinker. She obviously put this statement out, oh yeah, we've extended our deal, it's fantastic, it's fantastic. If you looked at the headlines, for example, in the New York Times and the Hollywood Reporter, they told the real story, downgraded deal. What just happened? Yeah, that's me. That's because I'm famous for being always angry. That's Samara Gill, who I'm looking at right now. She's my producer as well. And, of course, the great Flash Ash Gould. So that's on in 20 minutes. What just happened? Hope you enjoy it. You can watch it tonight, of course. Don't worry if you aren't watching on YouTube, aren't watching on the telly. If you're listening on the radio, it's very radio friendly, so just carry on listening. Or, more importantly, maybe as of tomorrow around about 9:30 a.m, it's on YouTube and you can watch it any damn time you like. So there you go. It's available forever. Right, that's in 20 minutes time. What just happened? Let's go straight to the calls. We've left it too late, but let's go. Let's talk to Sue in London. Hello, Sue.
Oh, hi, Kevin. Oh, my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you.
You are talking to me.
Just to say, I'm a total armchair groupie. I love the political asylum and what just happened.
Oh, great. I'm really glad. Thank you. Thank you.
I totally do. And I think I might need psychological help because I start with Mike Graham in the morning. And
yeah, you do. Yeah, actually, yeah. I'll stop you there, Sue. You need psychiatric help. That's no way to start the day. No. It's a great show. Seriously, I listen to it myself every day. Good old Mike.
But I end up. Talk.
Good. I'm glad. Now I've got a note. Here saying that from you saying Mandelson is a total slime ball. I agree.
Agreed.
Sue. Explain. Oh, where's he gone? Where's Sue?
Mentioned the vetting.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So for just over 20 years, I have been security vetted.
Oh,
okay?
you have? What? How come? What? You were a civil servant of some kind, or?
No. I am one of.
You're just a national security risk. No. What? Seriously, Sue? Why have you been vetted?
I have been vetted because I'm one of thousands of contractors.
Okay.
That are enablers for our wonderful service personnel and our wonderful.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay. So yeah, I understand it now. So what would you like to say about the vetting process, given that Mandelson? He did go through the vetting process, and apparently, by the way, Sue, you probably know this as well, Pete, that he did admit to MI6 and the Foreign Office that he had this, shall we say, tricky friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently, he did admit that, and that perhaps is why they told Number 10 Downing Street this guy does not pass, but Number 10 overrode that decision.
Okay, so you've got a good point there. Okay, so the vetting situation, from my point of view, just to give you, I'm slightly older than you, Kevin. I am actually.
Well, you're 120.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not many people older than me out there, I'll tell you. But go on, Sue. Go on. Sorry.
Okay, so. The security services know everything about me from the day I was born to today.
Yeah.
They know the marriages I've had, the relationships.
Yeah.
Bless them. My parents have passed, but they know about my parents. They know about my siblings.
Yeah, they really go into it, don't they? Yeah, quite
they
rightly. If you're dealing with matters of national security, if you're dealing with our services, the servicemen and servicewomen, quite right. This, you know.
Absolutely. And I'm a total patriot, but I'm a patriot, can I just say, as an addition, to our service personnel and to our security personnel. Yeah. I can't say I'm a patriot to the government right now.
Well, quite. I'll tell you something, Sue. I was reading today that the technique, you'll know about this, no doubt, when someone like Mandelson goes in to be interviewed by it's not just MI6, it's the Foreign Office as well. Right, what they do, their technique is they research your life to within an inch of your life, and then they ask you questions to which they know the answer.
That's very true.
And what they're looking for is, are you lying?
Yes, I'm going to say, like you say, I've had, I've had the cavity searches many times, and I tell you now, that's what they do. They want to see whether you're willing to lie, and that's really the kind of the main test.
That's absolutely
it's very smart how they do it, and it is rigorous. But again, I go back to the point: is the man down the road at the pub could have told you Peter Mandelson was not fit for the job.
I could have told you that.
That's the point here, and it is that number 10 overrode this decision. Yeah. It's staggering to me.
So what do you think? Mandelson had to go. He should never have got the job, should he, Sue?
No, exactly right. And well, I was going to call him Pod, but then it's the borrowers, and I really
no. His name is Petey. Petey.
Oh, Petey.
He's his best pal. It's Jeffrey's best pal, Petey. He called himself the Prince of Darkness. Yeah. I've got a new name for him. He's the Prince of Dimness. Yeah. He's an idiot. I mean, he's not an intellectual idiot, but in the business of life, the man is a fool.
Can I just say, the word that comes to mind is hubris.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is, yeah.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, this will also fall to Rayner and Starmer.
Yeah.
They are so full of their own hubris.
Rayner in particular.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen,
so forgetting the people like me who work very hard for a living. We love our country, and when we vote, when we go to our polling stations, we do that in very good faith. Yep. And then when we are disappointed, I've got to say, as a patriot, I am ashamed.
I think disappointment in this government is the understatement of the century. Sue, listen, it's really great to talk to you. And by the way, call any old time. You got the number. I'll always make sure you get on. But I've got to move on now because I've got to go to break. But excellent to talk to you. Thank you so much for an excellent call. Sue in London there. We better go to break. I've got my mate Herbie in Harrow waiting. Herbie, stick around. We'll come to you in just a second.
That is one of the things that will cause the polls to tighten in a few years as we get closer to a general election, is people, if the NHS is driven up the agenda, that will help Labour out. But if they can't even back this up with any type of meaningful improvements in the NHS and in the waiting list data, they're getting in real trouble. There's a little bit of a caveat here that these do go up and down, winter's coming, waiting lists generally go up then. But again, as you said, he promised real significant progress on this, and whether or not it's a little blip, there still is nothing meaningful happened.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I say, in about 8 minutes, it's my show, What Just Happened. Then at 10 o'clock, Ash Gould and Andre Walker will take you through to the small hours till 1 a.m. You don't want to miss them. TV's answer to Morecambe and Wise. Right, what we got here? Or something like, I don't know what that means.
I don't even know
what that means.
I'm saying like, what?
TV's answer to Morecambe, they were on
TV.
I'm just saying anything, aren't I?
The 2 horse race.
What have we got here? I should read some messages. Hugh from Basingstoke is frightened and appalled by the lack of any visible experience in the cabinet.
That's a
couldn't
big problem.
agree more. When Starmer was elected, John from Harrogate was elected leader. He was not expected to become Prime Minister because the Conservatives were expected to get a second term under Boris. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Another thing to blame Boris for.
Yeah, no,
Also, Don in Chelmsford said, is there something that journalists know about Starmer but can't say what it is? Yeah, there is, but I can tell you now, he's useless. That's what we know. No, there's no secrets about him except, well, there may be actually. I say that. There may be a lot of secrets about Starmer. There's some court cases coming up that might be very interesting. But what we do know is he's useless. Right, let's go back to the phone. Sorry, I didn't read enough messages. Got lots of them. Thank you very much. I promise to read a lot more on Monday. Back on Monday, by the way, 7 p.m. for another edition of The Political Asylum. Be there or be square. Let's talk to Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Good evening, Kevin. Nice to see you back again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Been a hell of a week, by the way.
Oh, hasn't it just? Oh, dear, oh, dear. Is it ever going to end? I can't see it, personally. Kevin, this cost of the immigration, people that are allowed to stay, is only the tip of the iceberg. You've got to remember the pressure it's going to put on our finances, our schools, our hospitals.
Herbie, it's a catastrophe.
Yeah.
It's a catastrophe.
Of course it is.
Shabana Mahmood has to do something about indefinite leave to remain. If she doesn't, it literally will be like a kind of bankruptcy tidal wave engulfing the nation.
Well, it's already doing. Kevin, they're coming over every day still. It's not stopping.
Yeah,
And
but what we're talking about there, though, Herbie, these are legal migrants.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the illegals are just as bad.
No.
Well, they're not.
This is the thing.
Numerically, they're nowhere near.
We obsess over the small boats, and don't get me wrong, that's a huge problem.
They're the rancid shop window.
But I tell you now, the legal migration problem is what will sink the country more than anybody else. Herbie, you're right to cite the ongoing cross-channel crisis.
But they will become bigger. They will become bigger. If it carries on the way it is, it will become bigger than illegal.
Right. Well, I'm not sure about that because we are still letting in the best part of 750,000 legal migrants every year. Until what was it, 2-3 years ago, it was over 1 million.
Yeah, it was.
Over 1 million. Now, you think about the cross-channel migrants. This year, I think we may be on for a record. That record will be something like 50,000. 50,000 against 1 million. You see what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but it makes no difference. It's still pressure on all the resources that we don't have. This is the problem.
It just highlights the general problem that we've got. I agree with you, Herbie, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to get any better. Where are they going to find the money?
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, but where's our magic money tree? Because if so, can I go and take my sack down here to fill it up, please?
No, they do. You're
the
right.
magic money tree,
There's
I'm
still,
afraid.
there's still Labour believers in the magic money tree, but I think even they have. This government, since the day they got into power, have been colliding with reality, with financial reality. They are realising that their philosophy does not work. Herbie, I've got to go, mate, but good to talk to you as always. Keep on keeping on. Herbie in Harrow, and finally, because I've just been in Cornwall, let's talk to Richard in Cornwall. I was in Whitsand Bay, Richard, very nice part of your lovely county. Whereabouts are you?
A place called Goldville, which is pretty close to Penzance.
Okay. What would you like to talk about, mate?
Basically, I'm very surprised that the fact that people are shocked by what the left have been spouting since.
I wouldn't say shocked.
Yeah, listen, I'm not shocked that it's happened. I'm shocked by the extent of it.
On October the 8th, the day after Israel was attacked, how people were celebrating in the street. This is what the human race has turned into. It's not even Orwellian. It's worse than that, I personally think.
But I'm not surprised that the left has started saying, "Oh, he was a Nazi, he deserves it. You know, good riddance, stain on him." I'm not surprised, but I am slightly shocked by the absolute extraordinary extent of it.
Yeah, for me, I think you brought the best word was the casualness. So you're always going to get the troglodytes and the cave dwellers and the people that would say the horrible stuff. That doesn't surprise me at all. It is the casualness to which mainstream commentators have indulged in this. That's what's really struck me, is that people who should know better have done it anyway. That's what's really shocked me.
What do you reckon, Richard? Pete's right. The casual use of terms like far right, extremist, that is half the problem, don't you think?
Well, see, the problem is, I mean, I personally think this all started 2 years ago, when, quite frankly, I have always believed, when I've heard people talk about conspiracy theories, I thought, what a load of nonsense, and I can always come up with an answer to their theories. But over the last 2 years, when people have been saying things to me, genuinely, I find it's true. It's true.
What's that noise?
Sorry, that was an alarm for me. Let me just cancel that.
Okay, is that gone now?
You can hear it.
All right, that's better. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll tell you another point where our political discourse, our national narrative became much more bitter, much more caustic, and has never recovered. It was Brexit, the Brexit debate.
For me, I actually think it was Joe Cox's murder. The way that the left weaponised that woman's death to silence any criticism that the right has against the left. He said, well, what about Joe Cox? It was always brought up, and she was
still
wielding
do,
it, and
don't
they
they?
still do. I literally tweeted, as soon as the news came through, said, how long